Hello everybody, welcome to my channel Diving Core, where I do deep and thorough analysis on movies, TV shows and games. So today we are looking at a game which was one of, if not the most controversial game of previous years. We are talking about The Last of Us Part 2. It is a game that is getting tremendous amount of hate with its non-conventional storyline. I somewhat disagree to this. While not being the best, let's see why Last of Us Part 2 does not deserve the hate. Before we get into the second part, we have to talk about the first one. And to appreciate it more, we have to talk about its impact on the gaming community. It got one of the highest rating from critics, and the audience scores were beyond even Sony's expectation. The game won hundreds of awards and was a smash hit in the PlayStation's huge library of video games. It takes us into an immersive world and gives us an experience that is both realistic and fun. This is one of the few games that made video game industry have an actual intense storylines. When I first played it, I fell in love with its gameplay and story. Speaking of story, it's unbelievably amazing. It always keeps you in the mood to play more and more. The Last of Us is set in a zombie apocalyptic world where people are scared and living a miserable life. Among those, we have our protagonist Joel, an old man whose life has been flipped around by the outbreak of the zombie fungus. He lost his little daughter and is now all alone. He becomes a weapon dealer and gets an assignment of transporting a child to a safer place. The child is Ellie and is somehow immune to the fungus that caused the zombie apocalypse, and Joel goes on a journey with her to a hospital across the country to make a vaccine against it. You might think that this story is quite basic, but during the gameplay we can see a bond forming, a relation between a father and daughter, and when it comes to finish the quest, they have to pay the price of Ellie's life. Joel can't lose another daughter and decides to obliterate everyone in the hospital just to get to her. I have to keep this segment a little short because I have to dedicate this video on the second part, but that doesn't mean that The Last of Us 1 doesn't deserve its own video. It does. Everything in the game is great, but the character and the voice acting is just beyond greatness. It is just perfect. People who play Joel and Ellie seems the perfect cast. The game has an heartbreaking ending and a dreadful and horrifying mid-section. It all fits perfectly. The game has its fair share of happy moments as well, but the balance between all this is why The Last of Us was just a heaven for the gaming community. Various people love this game and think of this as an interactive movie, and that is just a huge compliment to the director and crew of this game, Naughty Dog and Sony Games. One of the few nitpicks I have from this game is that it is a little repetitive in some areas, but it gets fixed in the end as well. This is one of those few games that is generally suited for everyone, and the sheer volume of emotions it can portray, whether it be horror or happiness, is a beautiful result of an expert cinematography. I would happily recommend this to everyone, and it just has so much in it that it deserves a hearty playthrough. So as you could tell, the first game was made very well and the audience loved it. This made Last of Us 2 a very anticipated game, and this put a lot of pressure on its creator. So did Last of Us 2 live up to the hype? Let's get into it. The first game ends in Joel refusing to tell Ellie that he killed those people in the hospital to avoid her death and possibility of a vaccine, and they head to Joel's brother's community called the Jacksons. And the second game begins with the continuation of it. We get a sense that Ellie is unhappy about her worth as an immune, unknowing that Joel lied. Through the years, Ellie was bound to find out, and she did. That scene is genuinely heartbreaking. But all this start making a crack in their relationship, and in no more than 2 years, this crack becomes hate. One day, Joel and Ellie get in a fight that ends badly, and next day, Joel goes out of Jackson's for surveillance around the safe place. And here we get the antagonist of the story. Her name is Abby, and she is the daughter of one of the doctors that was gonna do a surgery on Ellie. Joel killed him to get to Ellie, and you might guess it's not gonna end well. Abby is infuriated at Joel and kills him in front of Ellie. In the first couple of hours of the game, our protagonist dies. Well, he is not the protagonist in this game, it's Ellie. Ellie, who saw a person she valued so much die in front of her own eyes. She cannot stay quiet. She goes on a journey to kill Abby and her friends who were also present at the time of Joel's death. From then, the killing spree begins. Person after person, hundreds of men and zombies along the way. She and her friend Dina goes to fight Abby and her friends. Abby was obviously avenging her father's death, but her killing Joel was just a revengeful move. Ellie tracks down members of Abby's group and kills them one by one, all of them. Abby is left alone. After this, we get a showdown between Ellie and Abby, but the most unexpected thing happens. At a critical point of the battle, we are taken back 3 days ago, where we play as Abby. Just when Ellie starts her journey of revenge, we get to see the personality of not only Abby, but the number of people Ellie is killed. Most people did not want to play as Abby because they don't like her, but they should have given her a chance. The gameplay, the plot, even the scenarios are completely different, and this gets about as much time as Ellie's story, which is more than I would personally like, but let me tell you why they did this. The Abby Abby's storyline plays out kinda like the plot of the first game, The Last of Us 1, and most people haven't even recognized it yet. Abby herself contemplates about her choices, about her killing Joel, and that is why we get to see her. We play her and we see the bond Abby had with her friends, and as Ellie, we killed them without knowing anything. This straight up tells us about empathy. Neither Ellie nor Abby had it. Both were blinded by revenge, but this is not who they are. A major part of the first game shows us how Ellie was scarred but a nice person under that. Through Abby's story, we get a closer look as how she was portrayed as someone she was not. Getting back to the plot, both Ellie and Abby's story intersect at their showdown in the theater and they brawl, fighting to just kill. Ellie was blinded with rage and Abby was blinded with the revenge of her fallen friends. At this point, we ourselves are confused. We don't know who to choose from. Throughout the game, we see that the revenge is the true antagonist. Whoever is in the revenge gets antagonized. First Abby, then Ellie, and then at the showdown it is both, but mostly Abby. Abby almost kills Dina, friend of Ellie, but she doesn't. She leaves because of Lev. Abby's story followed protection and helping this child Lev, who is just Ellie's character from the first game, and he doesn't want blood on Abby's hand, so they leave. The whole experience of revenge comes at a price. Both Ellie and Abby suffer from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Ellie suffers from Joel's image and Abby suffers from her dad's. Helping Lev and forgiving Ellie helps Abby get out of depression, but Ellie couldn't improve her health. In a last-ditch effort, Ellie decides to go to find Abby to end it all. She finds Abby, but Abby has been kept in imprisonment, left to die. Ellie is shocked to see that she does fight her, and this is where people start bashing about the game. They start collectively hating on this game. Ellie doesn't kill Abby. Everybody was infuriated, toxic, and just plain disrespectful to this game. This is not cliche. Everything that has led up to this point suggested that Joel died unknowing of Ellie's feeling, but we are shown that he did know. The little conversation is the meaning behind this game. Forgiveness was already there. She did forgive him. Every person she killed was her trying to redeem herself to Joel. Killing Abby would not redeem Ellie, just like killing Joel did not redeem Abby from her horrifying experience. This is not a revenge game. It is a story of redemption. In every shot fired, they wanted to lift their souls. They forgot their empathy, forgot who they are in this quest. In the end, Ellie is left with herself alone, all by herself, because of this decision by her. But she is no longer suffering from a burden of proving herself. Leaving the story aside, we have one of the best graphics put in a game for a long time. The gameplay is creative and stealth is just perfection. And I know the people won't pay much attention to this grim story, but if they do, they would have experienced one of the most realistic and grounded story ever put in a game. The hate associated with this game can be summed up with the some points stated below. People said that this game doesn't feel like the previous game. Second part is unnecessary along with the new characters. It had bad twist and just a depressing storyline. I disagree with almost all of them. This game is a perfect continuation of the story and at the same time puts a realistic but dark take on the problems. The first game had a basic storyline but great characters, and this one took those characters and made a whole new game. Those characters that we already love. I agree to this a little, but new characters have not gotten enough time to bond with. Tommy from the previous game shines a lot, but Dina, Jesse and all doesn't feel natural. The twist was great, but people just failed to understand it to some extent. Anyways, I also like this game, but not as much as the first one. My goal to make this video was not to tell you about how this is the best game ever, but to show that the effort put in by a motion capture team, voiceover team and graphic departments are just overshadowed by the expectation put up by the people. I had to analyze this game for more than a week before I understand it myself, and result of this game shows that when this game first came out, it got review bombed. It got mostly 1-star reviews, but the critics, the game reviewers gave it a perfect score, and now the audience score is getting back up to 6. But this led to the game becoming not a major success. The game did go on to win major awards and has a special place in my heart. So yeah, while not being perfect, The Last of Us 2 surely doesn't deserve the hate. Thanks for watching.